Went up to Sears, and I knew I was going to be getting a big package when I went up. So, and I also knew it was pouring down rain all day, so I took my van rather than my truck because I couldn't put this big package in the back of the truck; it would get soaked. And well, it turns out about 3 weeks ago, I lost the batteries went dead in my remote opener for my van. So I got up there and I hit the electronic locks and went out and went into Sears and came out with the Sears guy with my package, and so I had to stick my key into the lock of the van. So stuck my key in there, and immediately the alarm starts going off. And I thought, well, this isn't completely unusual. A lot of times when I'm fumbling for my keys, I'll hit the panic button, the alarm will go off. So I said, oh, just hit the panic button and turn it off. And of course, batteries are dead, and so it's not doing anything. And so I'm kind of befuddled. I'm looking at the Sears guy, and he says, the same thing happened to me once. And he just looked at me, and I was like, and? He says, I don't remember what I did. So my alarm's going off, and it's raining, so I figured I'll throw open the tailgate of the van. He's got to put this big package in, and so I throw open the tailgate, and he puts the package in, and he makes a beeline right back in the Sears building, He knows that I'm in trouble, and he doesn't want to be associated at all with me, and this alarm going off. And you don't know what to do, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I could go to the drugstore down the road and buy some batteries to put in my remote and shut off the panic button, And I thought, well, that's really irrational. You have to do that. And so I got into the van. I thought, well, maybe if I just start up the van, it'll shut off. So I put the key in and turn the ignition, and the engine shuts off. I thought, well, that's unusual. So let's try it again. So I put the key in the ignition, turn it again, and the engine starts up, and it shuts off. So at that point, I figure out that when the alarm's going off, you can't start the engine. So any plans I had of driving from Olean to Cowersport with the alarm going off the whole gone out the wayside. So I'm sitting there thinking, what can I possibly do? And I'm trained to respond under pressure situations. So I said I need some education. So I go into my glove box and I pull out the manual, and I immediately go to the index and look up alarm. And there it is, alarm, page 18. Now, it's on page 18 for a reason. It's on page 18 because if you're in my situation and you don't know how to use an index, you can start reading the manual from front to back. And by the time you get to page 18, there's a good chance that the battery won't be dead by the time you figure out how to shut off the alarm. So anyways, I flip to page 18, and I see this instruction says, disarming the alarm. That's what it's called. It's called disarming, because this is a weapon that you have to figure out how to get off. And I read the first sentence, and it says, to disarm the alarm, you press the panic button. So I look out the side of my window, and I look at the drugstore, and figure, okay, maybe it's coming back into play. But I decided to read on, and it says, another way to disarm the alarm is to put your key into the passenger side door, the driver's side door, or the tailgate. I thought, well, isn't that ironic? Because that's what I did in order to set the alarm off. So anyways, I got out and I put the key in the driver's side lock, and sure enough, the alarm stopped. So if any of you are in that situation where you have a dead remote control key entry and your alarm's going off, just stick your key in the driver's side door, and that will take care of it. So that was my day. At the end of the day, on work day on Thursday, I decided to go into Mark's office, and I saw that he was going through looking at this presentation, and so, Mark, you all prepared for Saturday evening? He said, yeah, I think so. And I said, well, you're going to have somebody say a few words? And he said, yeah, I think so. And I said, who's that? And he said, well, you. I'm glad I asked. If I had not asked, I would have found out 30 seconds ago. And so I said, that's fine. Jim's never reported to me, but I'd be happy to say a few words on Jim's behalf. And but I started to think that there's really nothing I could say that hasn't already been said about Jim, because there's been non-stop parties for Jim for the last 10 years. 35th anniversary party for Jim. Hey, Jim's back from the hospital after breaking both of his arms down the parking lot. 40th anniversary party for Jim. Hey, Jim collapsed in Ohio on the way back from vacation. He's back to work. Let's throw a party. 45th anniversary, party for Jim. Monday morning, party for Jim. One big party. If anybody doesn't know that working at Morgan A&T in Countersport is one big party. You know? So, I don't know what to say, but I will say some of my fondest, most memories of Jim actually go back quite a few years. You know, I was here early on. I was in my early 20s, and Eric Biefeld was a new engineer in his early 20s, and Jim and Eric and I were all swinging bachelors. Well, we were bachelors. We decided that it would be a good thing to have a getaway weekend, you know, annually. So what we'd do is Jim would show up in the parking lot at the plant, and he'd have his pop-up camper attached to the back of his car, and Eric and I would pile in and we'd head north. And so we'd either go up to New York or up to Canada, and on the way up we'd stop and have dinner, and we'd find a place to park the camper, and then we'd go out that evening, and the next day we'd be up at the crack of dawn to go play golf. In the afternoon we'd go find a horse track and bet on the horses, and then Saturday night we'd go out in corrals, and Sunday morning we'd get up and we'd start finally making our way back to Countersport, and occasionally we'd stop and play golf. And so we try to do that every year, and then things changed over the years. You know, new people were added. You know, Paul Schultz came on. Eric left. Tony eventually started to join us. We had a foursome, and we got lazy over the years. Rather than taking the pop-up camper, instead we got a hotel room. Rather than going to a racetrack, we went to an off-track betting place with a bar. So things changed over time, but there was one thing that never changed, and that was Jim was always the designated driver. It wasn't that Jim didn't drink, it's just that we designated Jim. And Jim was always very accommodating in that role. And as I think about the working life and personal life with Jim, Jim has been a very accommodating person. You know, I mean, the guy married and divorced the same woman twice. I mean, how accommodating. and so that has just been. I'm sorry, you have But that's what made working with Jim so great. You know, over the years, Jim has just made fantastic transitions over his life, and he enjoyed working with us, and his amazing flexibility and accommodation with us made it very joyful working with him. So, and I'm really happy for Jim. Sometimes you see folks retire, and you just wonder, you know, what they have to plan to do with their lives. There's no question that Jim is filling his future up with things he really is enjoying doing. So on behalf of myself, Leslie, and of course everybody here, Jim, we wish you the very best of luck. We've enjoyed working with you very much, and we, as well as you, I'm sure, are looking forward to a great retirement for you and Dottie and your family. So thank you.